Okay.
All right, Sky.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you. Thanks.
Good to see you
We
too.
are here at Tractor Brewing, and we're going to talk today about branding. And Sky is one of my favorite branding marketing experts. She's smart, she's adventurous, she has fun, and she really knows how to make a product turn into an experience, and vice versa. Right?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
So tell me about your brand. Like, what is? How do you want people to feel about it? How did you come to it?
Well, we really want people to feel very passionate about our brand. We want them to associate our brand with the causes and things that they love and the experiences that they have here. And so it's less about actually being a tractor and having a farm and more about a shared experience and shared values.
Right, because it doesn't mean you have a farm. It means that.
Correct.
It means that you're. Right?
Yes,
So,
in downtown Albuquerque, we don't have a farm, and so it has to go beyond the letters on the page. It has to go beyond the literal meaning of a tractor.
Right.
And so it's about more than that. Yes.
Right. It means the experience you have
Yes.
here in the brewery. So who do you think your customers are?
Well, I think my customers are me. Your bar is full of yous, and so you have to make an experience that you would like. And if you want to attract more yous, then you keep doing things that you like. But if you're not your target market, then you don't do that. And so I feel like our audience is people around my age range. It's millennials and maybe some Gen Xers who enjoy craft beer and want to hang out and listen to live music and do things with their friends.
Experience local.
Experience local. Be a part of the Albuquerque committee. Not go somewhere and just drink whatever they've got on tap.
Right. So, how do you think about taking that experience in the tap room, that kind of brand message, and translating it into a product people buy in cans at the liquor store?
I think it's all about presenting your product to people through your social media, making sure that whenever they associate Tractor, their memory is instantly about those experiences. This is a great time that I had when I drank Tractor, so I'm going to buy Tractor because I want to do it again and I want to support what they're doing and what they're all about. I recently heard someone at a cider convention talking about showing people the appropriate occasion for your product. And I feel like that's really, really important, and it's something we're going to be focusing on is the occasions on which you would enjoy our product and the experiences that you want to have while drinking it, whether it's here or somewhere else.
Yeah. One of the things the famous quotes from someone who's in a little bit different space but understands this a lot is that Yvon Chouinard of Patagonia would say that most of his customers don't get to go outside as often as he does. But when they have a piece of Patagonia clothing, which I have with me at all times,
Yes.
It's an artifact of that experience, and you get to kind of experience that a little bit by having the artifact. So even if you're not here in the tap room listening to live music, participating in karaoke or Cards Against Humanity or whatever the night is, you can still go to the liquor store and get a 6-pack of Milk Mustache
Absolutely, and I find that generations prior to ours, you were a beer drinker or you were a wine drinker, and the research is showing now that our generation is very much occasional drinkers. When I go out with my girls, I drink wine.
Sexist, so sexist.
Well, but whenever I go out with like a large group and it's kind of like a casual night, I'll drink a beer. So kind of our mission is trying to give them experiences here that span the whole entire rainbow of things that you can be doing, so that they can see that you don't have to have a mixed drink just because you're out on a Friday night. It's okay to order a beer.
And, it's funny. It is. If I'm with a sophisticated crowd or people who like cocktails, and I have friends who just don't drink beer or wine, but only drink cocktails.
Right.
And if it's like I'll have a vodka rocks or whatever else, they come to me. It's like I'll have a Coors Light. Like that feels like has an umbrella in it. But if I say, I'm going to have a Farmer's Tan, or I'm going to have something that is, it sort of communicates something about me, I think. Or even when I bring a 6-pack over to somebody's house, if it's a macro, punched out of the mold kind of thing, that's one thing. But if I've taken the time, and people usually say, oh, what's that? And then you get to feel like you get to participate.
Absolutely, and there's a whole entire etiquette surrounding that, going to house parties about don't take a beer that's so expensive you wouldn't want to share it. Don't take a beer that is so inexpensive that people think that you don't care because you're not going to drink it, and then you get there and drink the party thrower's expensive beer.
Right.
Do you take the beer with you when you leave? leave. There's like a whole entire
That's a good
set
question.
of
Yeah, so what's the answer to that one? Because
I always say you leave it unless the host says, "Oh my God, there's so much leftover beer. Please take some."
Right.
And then I always try to take something I did not bring, so that I'm leaving my product for others to try and taste.
So of course, so you have a marketing benefit from that. So
Right,
but I agree. I think you should spread the love. But what about a growler? You bring a growler and you leave the glass.
It kind of depends on the audience. Like if the growler has 3 pints out of it and it's almost empty, I'll say, "Oh, I'll leave this so it doesn't
Right.
clutter up your counter."
Right.
But if we never even got to it, I'll
Right.
just go ahead and leave it in the fridge, and
Right.
they can enjoy it later. But once you've opened it, it's not like it's gonna
Okay.
sit there and get better, and somebody will enjoy it later. So yeah.
Okay. So how do you communicate with your fan, your follow, your customers, your core group?
We do a lot of social media. That's definitely something that we do. But we also work with groups to co-sponsor events who are very much in line with the audience we want to reach, the message that we want to convey. And we find that whenever we co-sponsor things with people and have another group involved in it, then we're reaching their base. It definitely puts a little bit of legitimacy into what you're trying to do, that it's not like Tractor's throwing a party, but Tractor's throwing a party with Trickluck Theater Company. And that makes it more fun because there's more people with a vested interest in what you're doing. And it also really helps out the community because you're not just like an island that's your brewery. You're like involved with things. But it's also important to very carefully curate those things and events and be really conscientious of how your brand is being associated.
Right. Yeah. Because who you co-sponsor becomes part of your brand.
Correct. And also being like very clear about, okay, you're going to do an event here. Are we co-sponsoring it? Is the expectation that we are going to help you promote it? Is the expectation that you're going to show up, and if anyone has a problem with what you're doing, well, we can't control who comes here. So what is your level of involvement and engagement with the things that are happening at your business?
Right. Interesting. So I know you have a big social media following. You have a really nice mug club, which you don't call it a mug club.
No, we call it the Beer Farmers Co-op because we feel like it makes people feel more like a member, more like they have a stake in what's going on.
Right. And how do you when I say use, I mean it with all that, like we use our siblings and our loved ones. But how do you think about that group? What do you want to give to them? What do you want to get from them?
Well, we want them to definitely feel like the reason they come here is because they're invested in here, and we give them discounts because they're loyal customers, and we try not to promote those kinds of special relationships through our social media as much, and we do use a lot of email communication for that, because as long as you're not spamming and the content is meaningful, it's kind of like writing a handwritten note to them.
Right.
And so I feel like putting that special touch on it is really, really important too. And so we do offer them like pre-tasting looks at our beers before they're open to the public, where we invest more in bringing food to those events and again, creating an experience for them where they sit in the brewery and get to meet our brewers, which is not the same as if you just sit in the tap room and enjoy wine.
Right. I think it's really interesting the beer farmer or the mug club concept in general, because what you're kind of saying on one hand is, hey, you come here a lot, invest a little bit, become invested in us, and it'll return a lot for you. And just the classic thing is like, oh, get loyalty, because then it's like, well, I've paid a little bit of money, and so, but I actually have some of the data, and a lot of people who are in the mug club aren't even like the most frequent customers, but they want to be special. They want they like want to say, no, I'm invested in this place. This is I don't get to go out but once a month, but when I do, I want to feel like I'm in my special place.
Right. I mean, most definitely, like the membership thing, and feeling like you're a part of something, and that you want to support the people who are around you. We have a very long-term staff, so I think that certainly helps. That there are some of our best marketers as well when it comes to things like that. And also, I mean, 5 years ago, it was really easy to get people to buy into your mug club because they had one here and they had one at Marble, because those were the places that they went all the time. And it's a lot harder now because there's a lot of places. and there are a lot of different models for how people are going to do a mug club.
Right.
One place a while back did $50 and you're a member for life.
Right.
You know, there are places that do $50 and you're a member for a year, $15 and you're a member for a year. People who reset them in January, people who they go for a year. There's no really one standard way to do it, and you kind of have to play to the abilities of your staff to track all of those things, and the price sensitivity of your customers.
Right.
Most definitely, people that are more my age are very price sensitive, and so they're going to sit there and kind of like do the math as well. Well, how often do I come here? $35 is a lot for me right now. Maybe I don't have it right now, but I will whenever I can, and so that plays into it too.
And that's kind of the like if you were a Mac and I was a PC, you know, I'd be selling like how much it costs to get all the features, the clock speed, the RAM, and all that stuff. But if you're a PC, you say, "I'm awesome. Don't you want to be like me?" Exactly.
Like we're a local community brewery. We support our neighborhoods. We make interesting craft beers. Don't you want to hang out with us?
Right. And your staff? I mean, tell me about your staff is fun.
Our staff is very fun. They're very involved in the community. A lot of them are members of bands and involved in community arts organizations and performers. And we still have people here who opened with us on day one in Nob Hill in 2011. And so it's really nice to have that continuity going. And I think it really contributes to what we're trying to do. And I think that the big challenge is, as a packaging brewery who's growing is transferring that staff feel, and especially just like other draft accounts where you just don't even know who you're encountering necessarily because you have no one-on-one interaction with them. Right.
So that's an interesting point too, because you've got this is like your home bay, you've got a couple tap rooms, but if you had, but you're still, you know, more pints of beer are being consumed off premise than on premise. So part of what you get to do in the tap room is really be part of the whole experience, get the feedback, see people's faces when they take the first sip of a seasonal, like when you explain what a dry stout is as opposed to, you know, Cascade hop, like all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that definitely becomes harder. I mean, I know what works in Albuquerque, and we look at this anytime we're looking at a new tap room, we're going into a new market, is figuring out what locations and what brands are really successful in that market, and going through them and seeing their story and how you relate your story to that, because it's very hard. I mean, to go into a market you know nothing about, and tell people love me because I'm like you. They're like, we don't even know that.
They're not like you
don't know me. You know, like it sounds like a daytime talk show. Because people just don't know anything about you, and you have to start to have more depth and be more almost generic in your message so that you have that broader appeal. And so it's definitely a balancing act and something that's kind of tricky to go forward with.
It's hard to be local and grow.
And
I think that one of the things that we've talked about a lot is, you know, you're in business for a year or 10 years, and the people who naturally are your customers, and you do a great job for them, and they're happy with you. But you want to keep growing. You want to, you know, keep providing opportunities for your staff, and you know, keep growing the craft brand. So then you've got to tell, like, you know, if you just do a really good job, will you keep growing?
I think to some degree you will, and this is something about craft beer. I mean, I had a marketing student contact me this last week saying, well, wouldn't you consider your locations to be like in a growing industry, in a you know, like an industry that's growing? And I'm like, well, kind of. I mean, craft is growing, but so are the number of breweries, and the population of Albuquerque is not growing, and the shelf space in the stores is not growing. So what is your growth potential? Is it converting people to craft? Is it trying to steal customers from someone down the street and say, pick us instead? So is craft beer in Albuquerque really a growing industry, or is it somewhat of a mature industry? Depending on how you look at it, and figuring out how you get those new customers, how you convert the PC owner to buy that first Mac. And so that, I think, is a piece of it too, for sure.
So speaking of the customer base, again, I'm lucky to have the data. The craft beer industry is 25% women. In your tap room, you're well over a third, almost 40% women. Why?
I think part of that is because we have a very active woman partner here. So again, it's who you are that comes into your tap room.
Right.
If you go to other women-owned breweries around the city, I think you see that a little bit more too.
Yep.
But also, I mean, we make cider. It's diverse. We have 22 beer taps or
Right.
cider taps, so we're always able to have those lighter choices and create a really safe space for people.
Right.
And we don't beer shame. We don't say
What?
we don't say, well, you can drink that, but you're not going to drink it here.
Right.
We believe in like entry level beers and growing, because I mean, growing in the women population, that's how we get more craft beer drinkers.
Right.
And making all 8-9% beers doesn't help that. Sure, women like them.
Right.
Just like everybody likes them, but the perception that you can come in here and find something that you like, whether it's an IPA and you're a female, or it's a cider and you're a female, not locking into those stereotypes.
My male friends, same thing, right? It's like I bring them over a low IPA, not bitter, that's, and they're like, oh, surprisingly, this is good. And also when it's like dark and not like easy to drink. Oh, I can't believe how much I like this.
Right, yeah, and also creating a social environment that isn't 100% about the beer geek.
Right.
I mean, that is a safe space for people to experiment in and to try new things, and you tend to get more women, and it's not trying to be stereotyped, but my class at CNM, out of 20 students, 3 were female, 17 were male, and so that's part of that,
Right.
that pre-existing bias, and how do we break through that? 10 years ago, whenever I got into craft, I didn't drink craft beer.
Right.
That's not how I got into this business. I was actually on a ride with a distributor whenever I had my first non-tractor craft beer. And so I feel like you can't shake your head at those people. They
Right.
can become your biggest advocates. So that's
Right.
really important.
Excellent. Well, so what, if you were going to give some advice to a craft brewer who is kind of struggling with how to build their brand or how to enhance their brand, like what would be the top 3 things you would recommend that they do?
First of all, I would say to really identify who you are and figure out, do you want more use sitting around? And if you don't want more use in your bar, or you feel like you're already doing a really good job at getting to people who are like you, then you need to bring someone else in to help you. You need to bring in a different perspective and figure out a way to appeal to a different audience. The second thing that I would say is build your own brand. Don't try and steal someone else's. There's only need for one you, and the biggest market share that you can steal is the macro breweries, the wine drinkers, and the spirits drinkers. So we're gone making converts. And the third thing would be to always keep in mind that consumer experience. If they don't want an experience, they can go to a chain restaurant. Keep in mind that people are looking for more. They can drink beer a lot of places. Make yourself different.
Awesome. Well, Sky, thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's great. It's great being here.
Thanks.
And
Great
we'll do
having
this again.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Okay.